So let's talk about data models. Now don't panic. If you don't know what a data model is, I'm going to let you in on a bit of a secret. I didn't either when I started at Tableau 7 years ago. So we're going to go through it together. We all know how to ask a question in Tableau, right? Just drag out a field. Well, this left pane here, this is the data model. You're interacting with it every time you drag a dimension or a measure into your viz. But what's the data model doing for you? Well, databases don't speak Tableau fields. They speak a different language called SQL. So the data model translates the Tableau fields into that SQL that the database understands. You get a result, and everyone's happy. So you don't really see the data model, but it's there translating your questions every single time you use Tableau. Now, what did it take to build this data model? Well, let's go to the Data tab and take a look. Here, we see this data model is really 6 different tables all joined together. Data models are also responsible for describing how tables relate and how to split queries up across all of those tables. So in order to build this data model, you have to go find all the right tables, understand how they're related to each other, and then figure out the right join. Is it a right join or a left join? An inner join or an outer join? There's a lot going on, and you just might not know. Wouldn't it be great if Tableau could do all of that for you? Yeah. Here we're in an upcoming version of Tableau. Let's rebuild that same data model you just saw. Now, we're connected to that same data warehouse. There's all those same tables as before. And I've actually started out with the line items table here. But to build the data model, instead of having to go and figure out everything again, I just have to click one option, Add Related Objects. There's your data model. All without having to figure out which tables to use, how they relate, or if it's that right or that left join. Tableau's new data modeling capabilities just did that for you. But how did the data model know the right relationships between those tables? Well, it turns out that information is stored in the data warehouse. People in your organizations have defined those relationships already. Thank you, DBAs, and thank you, data stewards. Say thank you. Tableau will read those relationships and build models for you automatically. So let's take a look at how these enhancements make analysis easier and more powerful. In order to illustrate that, let's go to a current version of Tableau. And here we are in current Tableau, looking at that same sales data set. We see that our total is about 2.3 million in sales. And to see which state had the most sales, we just add states and sort. And California has the highest sales with about 500,000, which makes sense, right? California is the most populous state. It's probably got the most sales for that reason. Well, we can check that by adding population to the viz. And we see that, in fact, California does have the highest population of about 76 billion people. Now, the traffic on the 101 may lead you to believe that California has 76 billion people, but that's not the number we're looking for. Let's dig in a bit and see the underlying data. And here we see that the data does have the right value, 38 million, but it's being replicated 2,001 times, once for every row in the line items table. That's happening because the data model is using something, the data model is joining everything to the line items table, and that will replicate population once for each row. Now, Tableau has a powerful tool to fix this. It's called the level of detail calculation, and it lets you change the way that numbers are added together and aggregated. We have one here that would get us to that 38 million. And it just says, very simply, for each state, give me the population just once. So if we replace population with our calculated population, we get the number that we expect, 38 million. But what if we didn't have to write those calcs at all? Let's jump to upcoming Tableau and do that same analysis as before. Here, we have that same sales data set with sales by state. And let's take a look at population again. But before we do, let's zoom in and notice that population is part of the states table now. This is because the new data modeling capabilities know that population is an attribute of states. And it's going to manage the level of detail automatically. You guys can sense what's coming. So when I add it to the viz, there is the number we expected without doing anything. Tableau did all those LOD calculations for me behind the scenes. Now, another improvement that comes with these data models is automatic joins. What does that mean? Let's take a look at the current version of Tableau. Here, we have our favorite data set, sales by state. And if we want to know who has the lowest sales, all we have to do is invert the sort. And it looks like North Dakota has the fewest sales. But I want to make sure we have the whole picture, so let's select all the marks and double check. Well, it looks like we only have 48 marks on the viz. Why is that? The United States has 50 states. Well, this data model is using something called inner joins. That just means that data, in order to show up on the viz, has to match across all 6 of those tables. So if a state doesn't have any sales at all, it's not going to show. And we can go and change the data model to include a bunch of things called right joins, but we just don't want to spend our time designing data models. You just want to ask questions. Let's switch back to upcoming Tableau. Here again are our top-selling states. And to see the bottom states, we're just going to invert the sort. But this one's going to go by a little quickly. So I want you to watch carefully. We'll invert the sort. And there's Alaska and Hawaii, once again, doing nothing special. Tableau looked at our question and just picked all the correct joins for us automatically. And we got all the data we wanted. Now, this is just a start. These new capabilities will simplify data modeling and make analytics even easier and more expressive. With automatic data modeling, automatic joins, and automatic level of detail, all in a single data source. Thank you.